Before I bought a teleprompter, I watched a ton of videos about how to make it look like you weren't using one. And every time I watched one, I just thought, fake, fake, fake. The people who were supposed to be teaching me how to make teleprompters look natural and as though you weren't staring down the barrel of a camera reading a script, all looked like they were reading a script. Even with their speech pattern interruptions and their glances away, something still felt uncanny. So I want to talk about why I think this is and why you might be sounding a bit fake or awkward while reading off of your teleprompter. Now, you might be watching this video saying, Kea, I hate to break it to you, but this video is giving me uncanny valley. It's super obvious that you're using a teleprompter. And I think that's actually because there's this weird psychological effect that comes into play with these types of videos. The moment you click into a video talking about how to use a teleprompter, your brain becomes hyper aware that one is being used and starts searching for all of these little cues as it tries to reconcile this knowledge with what it's seeing. It's actually one of the main reasons I think I struggle with other people's videos. It's not their fault. And it's important to remember that this is not going to be the case with normal videos. If you've set up your teleprompter properly, there should be little to no tells in the eye movements. And so you just have to trust that unless you explicitly tell your audience that you're reading off a script, they aren't going to be nitpicking looking for cues that you are. They're just going to consume your content for the information that you're providing them. Now, depending on your delivery as a byproduct of using a teleprompter, your audience may just think you're a naturally awkward and robotic person. Or you might come across as disingenuous or fake, like you don't actually mean what you're saying. That's actually what we want to try to avoid. So first, let's cover some teleprompter setup tips. Because if you don't set it up properly, your eyes are going to be moving across the screen, and that's just a dead giveaway. If we don't have that sorted, it literally would not be worth covering any of the other fixes in this video. So first, be very mindful of where your lens is and make sure your text is within the bounds of it. I like to use my iPhone rather than an iPad, placing it vertically and then adjusting the margins of my script so that the text does not surpass the limits of my lens. I also personally prefer to make the text as large as possible, usually only 1 to 3 words per line. It kind of reminds me of this speed reading thing I saw on Instagram where it just flashes all the words in the exact same spot. I actually don't know if that's a teleprompter best practice or not, but I've been experimenting with it and I like it. But be careful because if you go too big, you risk your eyes actually scanning up and down too much rather than side to side. And from there, I adjust the placement of my phone, make sure that the cue marker is centered, and I play with the speed so that the word being queued up is always positioned in the middle of the lens. After all of that is sorted, then we can start addressing the reasons why your videos are still coming out feeling unnatural. First, the performance is not convincing. Sometimes when I watch people using teleprompters, I feel like they are pretending to not have a script, which I know makes sense in theory, but it feels too much like they're putting on a show. Like they're doing all these things they know they're supposed to be doing, breaking eye contact, moving their arms around, emphasizing certain words, but there's still this air of pretend around it, like it's giving school play. And I don't think the answer is to just work on being a better actor. It's in remembering that all of YouTube is basically a performance, whether it's scripted or unscripted. And an important part of a compelling performance is making it feel real to yourself first. I've had some very limited commercial experience, and in one of the commercials I was doing, there was a scene where I was like racing through the back of house of a kitchen. I was supposed to be like the head chef. And when the director gave me direction, it wasn't just to look here and do this and have this expression. Instead, he walked me through the headspace I would be in at the moment and why that was driving specific actions. But the best part about being a content creator is that our scripts are our own. We already know the why. We know the motivation. It's our own headspace. So we just have to work on tapping into that more, understanding who we're talking to and why what we're sharing is important, and then draw that into our performance. Let that guide where we look and how we say things, not just arbitrarily trying to remember to do specific actions to try to convince people that we aren't using a teleprompter. And it's actually your script that can make or break this. So next up, your script is probably the problem. And you should actually be spending way more time on your script than you do trying to perfect your delivery of it. So first, you better not be using a ChatGPT script. If you are reading words that are not your own, I can't help you make that sound natural. Your script needs to read exactly how you naturally speak. And it needs to be the right sort of script for YouTube. You aren't writing a university paper, nor are you writing a keynote speech or a work presentation. All of those have a different feel to them and different rhythm. Something that sounds fantastic when written down might be a mouthful when spoken out loud. And finally, another problem is that creators aren't allowing themselves to be flexible. When I started using a teleprompter, I was incredibly worried that I was going to be locked into the constraints of my script and that I wouldn't have the flexibility to go off script, to ad-lib or develop a thought further if I felt inspired to. I was worried that I'd lose those spontaneous moments that help me feel more authentic and more connected to my audience. And I was also worried that this would then have a ripple effect on me and that I would lose the ability to think on my feet and connect ideas together in the moment, which is a vital skill for creators who want opportunities outside of YouTube, whether that's being asked to speak at events or do podcasts or other types of interviews. But this is not live TV, and too many creators, myself included, forget this. Even though you're using a teleprompter, you are not locked into whatever it's saying on the screen. You still have to edit this. So you're allowed to pause, to say things again, to say things differently, and you're also allowed to go on a whole other tangent if you feel inspired to do so. And then you can just stitch everything together in post. You can even consider getting a remote control for your teleprompter or like a foot pedal or something to make this easier. I don't have one yet, or at least I don't have batteries in my remote control yet, so we'll get there. Allowing yourself to feel more flexible will allow more of you to enter the video. If you feel like you're being held hostage by your script, it's gonna come across to your audience. Now, mind you, I still am learning. I'm trying to perfect my use of this thing. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to intentional practice. Using it, watching back the footage, and then trying something different the next time around. I think for me, I still sometimes talk a little bit too slow, and my energy can drop if I'm not consciously trying to deliver. But I'm hoping that as I continue to make videos with this, I'll continue to improve, with the overall goal being to deliver content consistently to my audience, without them thinking I am a robot in disguise. If you're curious what teleprompter I'm using, I will drop the link to it in the description. Thanks for watching, and until next time.